Hey y'all! Welcome back to Motivational Monday with your girl Mo. And if you're here for the very first time, welcome. And I hope that everyone enjoys this video. Today I'm here to tell you the third reason it took me a whole year to upload a video for you was my voice, my shyness, and my articulation. So I need to tell you the backstory of why I felt I had this situation with my voice. It all started in the mid-60s when I was 3 years old. My older sister was 11 months older than me, and the sister behind me, she was 13 months younger than me. Yeah, y'all, my mama and daddy was busy. So my parents agreed that we should spend a short period of time in South Carolina with my maternal grandmother. And I was blessed because I had two strong, God-fearing grandmothers that lived to be in their 90s. God bless their soul. My grandmother and her baby daughter would take us to church every Sunday. Her baby daughter was about 15 years old. And one Sunday, just before Easter, my grandmother gave my sisters and I speeches to recite on Easter Day or Resurrection Day. And every evening we would practice these speeches. So on Easter Day, we got up in the morning. They dressed us in these beautiful, colorful yellow and pink dresses and bows and ribbons and bobby socks and patent leather shoes. So when it was time for us to say our poem, they called my oldest sister up first. Now she walked up there, nice and tall, shoulders back, chin up, walked in front of the church, looked out in the audience, and said in her high, squeaky voice. She had a voice similar to my grandma. My grandmother had a really high voice. It was soft, but it was very high. I love the Lord who died for me, who rose on Easter Day. And everybody clapped for her, and she went down to her seat. Then my sister, 13 months younger than me, she walked up there with a lot of confidence, and she stood in front of the congregation. Now, you know, y'all, something had to be wrong because I was the second to the oldest. We'll tell you about that later. And she stood in front of the congregation, and she said, Happy Easter Day. And everybody. Because one thing about the churches, they praise and they encourage the kids. They were always applauding. When you go to a church, you always see them really giving the kids praise. Now, when it was my time to go up there, I walked up there like as slow as a turtle with my eyes glued down to the floor. I stood in front of the congregation, looked down at the floor, and barely opened my mouth. Happy Easter Day. The congregation said they couldn't hear me and asked could I say it louder. So eyes were still glued to the floor, and I probably had to take my thumb out my mouth because I suck my thumb all the time. So I said it louder. Happy Easter Day. Y'all, they said they still couldn't hear me. And could I say it louder? I must have was tired. I opened my mouth as wide as I could, and from the top of my lungs, I said, Happy Easter Day! And ran down to my grandmother. The church exploded with laughter. People were just laughing for more than a minute, y'all. And my grandmother, she was always so sweet. She tried her best not to laugh. She was telling me how good I did, but she was really trying her best not to laugh. I remember that to this day. And my aunt, she was laughing too. So that was my first speaking engagement. So then let's push that up 2 years when I was 5 years old. My sister was 6, and we started the kindergarten. Now, my sister was very smart, but the year she was supposed to start school, she was sick in the hospital, so she couldn't start school on time. But anyways, I didn't mind because me and my sister get to start school at the same time, and the boy down the street, our neighbor, So I was happy. So we went to school, and Miss Shiner, that was her name, and the school was only around the corner. And her voice sounded like thunder. And next thing you know, before the school year was out, she gives me a letter to take home to my mom. And I'm trying to figure out why no one else got a letter but me. So I give my mom the letter, and the teacher said that they were going to put me in a Head Start, because every time she asked me a question, I would look at my sister or the boy down the street. And that basically they were saying that I was verbally immature. That bothered me, but I have to tell you that story another day. So the next day, we go to school. I'm scared. The kindergarten and the Head Start's right next door to each other. So my sister goes into the kindergarten, and I was so scared to go in the class that I stood outside the classroom. The teacher had to come out, take my hand, and take me into her class. That year, I did very well. I had great teachers, and I felt comfortable. Because, see, Miss Shiner, y'all, I was scared of Miss Shiner. Because every time Miss Shiner said my name, I would jump. She was like, Mozella. I was too scared of the lady. That was the problem. And then now we're going to take it up 2 more years later, when I was around 7 years old. They send me another letter home to give to my parents. And this time they said, your daughter is going to have to take speech lessons because she doesn't pronounce her words correctly. So it kind of bothered me, these 3 things, but I did okay in class. In school, I did okay in school. And what helped me was in church. My mother put us in everything. We were on the choir. We went to Sunday school. We went to Bible study, youth group, everything. And so I remember one year when I was like in 8th grade, I got this big part in the main character in a play. And I remember really putting my heart and soul in the play, and I did well. And then in school, I recited a few poetry poems. And then way after I graduated, I was in quite a few plays. And so I did really well. And then in school, also when I worked a part-time job, I was a waitress. And I did jobs that actually encouraged me to be able to talk to people. But my real voice is I'm an introvert, and I do really well one-on-one conversations. Large groups of people, I actually feel shy. I can manage it, but I actually really feel lost in a crowd. And talking in front of large groups of people, I can do it, but I always feel so nervous. So that was one of the reasons why I had a hard time uploading the video, because as you can see, I stuttered or I mumbled a few times. This video is not perfect, but I'm going to feel that fear and do it anyway. Your voice doesn't have to be perfect for God to use your voice. Your voice doesn't have to be perfect. Your voice counts. Your voice matters. Your voice will make a difference in someone's life. T.D. Jakes said, look at Moses. Moses stuttered. God used him. T.D. Jakes said that when he first started his ministry, that when he would preach, he couldn't even hold the microphone, because every time he held the microphone, his hands would just shake. Another thing that T.D. Jakes said that I really, really like, he said, anything that you're not willing to confront, you cannot overcome. Anything that you're not willing to confront, you will not overcome. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we said, I will praise thee, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, which means God made your voice perfect. He made your voice to be used. God knew that your voice counted, it mattered, and that it would make a difference in someone's life. We also said that I'm losing my train of thought, but we're going to get there. We also said that I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. Well, we can't do it unless we come into partnership with God. We said I can do all things through Christ. In order to come to partnership with God, you got to do your part so he can do his part. Then we said that we have not because we ask not. If we want God to help us with a voice, he's not going to help us because we don't ask him. And if we ask him, we don't get help because we asked amiss. If you want God to use your voice, you have to ask him to help you. Then you have to do your part. And then you have to trust, feel the fear, and do that anyway. And the reason why you should do it, because your voice counts. Your voice matters. And your voice will make a difference in someone's life. And how do I know that? I lost both of my parents. My dad 20 years ago. And don't you know that I can still hear my dad's voice? Not in my ear, I can remember his voice, but my soul aches to hear it again. And my ears crave to hear his voice. And my spirit longs to hear his voice. Even though I could still kind of remember my dad's voice. Because you know why? Because my dad's voice counted. It mattered. And it made a difference in my life. My mom, she was gone almost 2 years ago. And I still ache to hear my mother's voice and my mother's laugh. My spirit still long to hear her voice. My ears still crave to hear her voice because you know what? My mother's voice counted. My mother's voice mattered. And my mother's voice made a difference. And your voice made a difference. And not just my parents. I know that your parents, if they're not here, or your loved one, your child, or your friend, or your auntie, or someone that made a difference in your life, their voice counted. Their voice mattered. Their voices made a difference in your life. And don't you ever think that your voice don't count and that your voice does not matter and that your voice doesn't make a difference. Because your voice can pray for the sick. Your voice can pray for the person grieving. Your voice can pray for healing. Your voice can encourage. Your voice can help. Your voice can encourage. Your voice can listen. Your voice counts. Your voice matters. Your voice will make a difference. So don't let the sound of your voice, don't let muttering, if you stumble, if you mumble, don't let those things hinder your voice. Don't let it stop you. Don't let it block you. Because you can do all things through Christ which strengthens you. And by the grace of God, we will live long, beautiful lives. And that with long life, we will satisfy thee. But remember, someone needs to hear your voice. Because your voice counts. Your voice matters. And that your voice will make a difference. Don't you ever forget that. And in the nights when you feel like no one hears you and no one listens to your voice and no one understands your voice, go back to Psalms 139 when he says that you're fearfully and wonderfully made and that he knows your thoughts now and afar. Go back and remember he made your voice. And go back and remember that your voice counts and your voice matters and God does care. I love it when we think in terms of the Lord said that he never sleeps nor slumber. He said that he will never leave you nor forsake you. And that he's always there. And if no one gets your voice, God gets you. He gets you. He gets everything about you. He gets you. And I love that song where it says, I can call him in the morning. I can call him in the middle of the night. But when I call him, he'll make everything all right. It doesn't matter how big the problem may be. Jesus promised he'll take care of me. So if you like this video, please hit the like, comment, and subscribe so that I can tell you the fourth reason why I hadn't uploaded a video in a year. And just remember that your voice counts. Your voice matters. And your voice doesn't have to make a difference in this whole world, but it'll make a difference in someone's life. Okay, the video wasn't perfect, but I thank God for it. And I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you got something from this video. And I did a video. God is good, and I thank you. Take care, y'all. Bye. See you next week. Thank you.